The legal papers had my name on them like I'd committed a crime. My own parents were suing me for buying a house with my own money. I remember standing in my new living room, boxes half unpacked around me, staring at those papers and thinking this had to be some kind of mistake. But then I called my father, and the first words out of his mouth were, "That house belongs to your sister." Not, "We need to talk." Not, "There's been a misunderstanding." Just that. Cold. Final. Like it was a fact I should have already known. That's when I realized my family had never really seen me at all. My name is Audrey, and I spent most of my life believing that if I just worked hard enough, stayed quiet enough, never asked for too much, everything would be okay. That's what you do when you're the responsible one, right? You keep your head down. You don't make waves. My father, Dennis, ran our house like a courtroom. Every decision he made was final, no discussion needed. My mother, Carolyn, was softer on the surface, but her guilt trips cut deeper than his commands ever could. And my younger sister, Bri-anna. She floated through life like gravity didn't apply to her, cushioned by their approval and their endless belief that she needed more help than I did. I learned early that fairness wasn't something that lived in our house. Expectations did. Still, I tried. I got my engineering degree. Built a solid career. Spent long nights in front of my laptop, hair tied back, eyes burning, telling myself that discipline would give me the freedom my upbringing never did. For 6 years, I saved every penny I could. No vacations. No impulse buys. Packed lunches from home. Every bonus went straight into savings. Every promotion meant another step closer to something that belonged to me and only me. A home. My home. The night I told my family I finally had enough for a down payment, my mother actually clapped. "Oh, sweetheart, we're so proud of you," she said, lighting candles on the dining table like it was Thanksgiving. Dennis nodded once. "Smart investment. If you do it right." I felt this flicker of pride. Brief. Fragile. Until Bri-anna leaned back in her chair, stirring her iced tea, and said, "Must be nice having that engineering salary. Some of us are still paying off grad school." Her tone wasn't joking. It never was. I tried to smile. "You're doing well at your firm. You'll get there." She didn't answer. She didn't have to. I could feel the air tighten around her resentment, the same way it always did when my accomplishments brought attention she thought belonged to her. But I pushed forward anyway. I toured homes on weekends. Drove through quiet neighborhoods after work, picturing a life where no one could rewrite my choices. When I finally found a 2-story place tucked on a calm street at the edge of the city, I knew it wasn't glamorous. It wasn't perfect. But it felt like mine. Signing those papers felt surreal. Like a breath I'd been holding for 6 years was finally releasing. What I didn't know was that this house, the one I'd earned, was also the spark that would burn every illusion I had left about what my family really was. 3 days after closing, I was sitting on my new living room floor surrounded by half-open boxes when my phone started buzzing non-stop. At first, I ignored it. I was tired, sweaty, still holding a screwdriver in one hand. But when my friend Tessa's name flashed with the message, "You need to see this right now," something in my stomach tightened. She sent a screenshot. It was Bri-anna's social media post. Public. Dramatic. Dripping with self-pity. When your sister uses the money grandma meant for your first home and buys one for herself instead. Hundreds of likes. Comments full of strangers calling me greedy, selfish, unbelievable. My throat closed. I read it again, slower, like maybe I'd misunderstood. But no. She was accusing me of stealing money that never existed. Money neither grandma nor our family had ever assigned to her. I called Tessa immediately. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely hold the phone. "Did you see what she's saying?" I asked. "This is a complete lie. Grandma's inheritance was split equally. I have the documents." "I know," Tessa said, her voice tight with anger. "Everyone who actually knows you knows this is garbage. But Audrey, she's got hundreds of people believing her. What do I even do? Post my bank statements online? Defend myself to strangers who've already decided I'm the villain?" "No," Tessa said firmly. "You don't owe the internet an explanation. But you might want to prepare yourself. If she's willing to lie this publicly, she's not going to stop here." She was right. Before I could even process it, my phone rang again. Dad. I hesitated, then answered. Hello. Dennis's voice was flat. Official. Audrey. We need to discuss the situation with the house. I stood there, frozen. What situation? My mother's voice floated in from the background. Sweetheart, you know what this is about. No, I said. I don't. Dennis exhaled sharply, like I was wasting his time. Your mother and I have spoken with an attorney. The funds designated for Bri-anna's future home were meant to go to her. You knew that. My heart slammed so hard I felt it in my wrists. What are you talking about? There was never any designated money. I bought this house with my own savings. I can show you every deposit. Silence. Then Dennis delivered the line that split my reality in two. That house belongs to your sister. I sank onto the nearest stair. Dad, this is insane. There is no agreement. No fund. Nothing. You're being difficult, he snapped. Your sister needs that house more than you do. She's been planning for it, and now you've taken it out from under her. She never told me she wanted this house. She never even mentioned it. It doesn't matter, he said. We'll be filing in court tomorrow. My hand shook so hard I nearly dropped the phone. You're taking me to court. Carolyn chimed in, her voice thick with disappointment. We just want to make things right for your sister. She deserves this. You can buy another one. Another one. As if 6 years of sacrifice could be repeated like picking up milk from the store. The call ended without a goodbye. I sat in the dim hallway of my new home, the walls echoing with a betrayal I hadn't expected in my worst nightmares. My parents weren't confused. They weren't mistaken. They were choosing a side. And it wasn't mine. I tried calling my mother back. Maybe if I could just talk to her alone, away from my father's influence, she'd listen to reason. She answered on the third ring. Mom, please. Just listen to me for a second. Audrey, I don't want to fight. Then don't, I said. There's nothing to fight about. I saved my own money. I bought my own house. This has nothing to do with Bri-anna. There was a long pause. I could hear her breathing on the other end. Your sister is struggling, she finally said. She doesn't have what you have. It's not fair. What's not fair is lying about inheritance money that doesn't exist. What's not fair is trying to take away something I worked 6 years for. You've always been so stubborn, she said, and I could hear the tears in her voice. Ever since you were little. You never understood that family means helping each other. Helping each other doesn't mean stealing from each other, Mom. She hung up. I sat there staring at my phone, and for the first time in my life, I felt completely alone in my own family. That night, Tessa came over with takeout and a look that told me she already knew the whole story. You're not crazy, she said quietly. They're trying to take your house. Behind her, my friend Nathan stepped into the doorway. I hadn't realized he'd come too. He folded his arms. Audrey, you need to prepare yourself. They're not bluffing. Your family is getting ready to start a legal war. I didn't sleep that night. I sat at Tessa's kitchen counter with a mug of cold tea, staring at nothing while her apartment hummed around me. The shock hadn't worn off. It had settled into something heavier, something that made my chest feel too tight. Tessa sat across from me, elbows on the counter. You're staying here, she said firmly. You shouldn't be alone in that house right now. I didn't argue. I couldn't. The next morning, Nathan returned with a folder tucked under his arm. I made some calls, he said, sliding it toward me. You need a specialist. Someone who deals with inheritance disputes and property claims. Catherine Rhodes is the best I know. I blinked at him. Inheritance. There is no inheritance issue. He gave me a humorless smile. Your parents are trying to create one. Catherine met us that same afternoon in her office overlooking the city. Glass walls, soft lighting, everything sharp and composed, just like her. She listened quietly while I explained everything. From Bri-anna's post to Dennis's threat. When I finished, she leaned back in her chair. Their claim sounds fabricated, she said. But weak cases can still create damage if not handled properly. We'll need statements, payment records, anything showing your house was bought strictly from earned income. I have all of it, I said. Every transfer. Every savings log. I kept everything. Good. Catherine tapped her pen. Now we need witness accounts. Who knew the inheritance was split equally? My breath steadied for the first time in hours. My Uncle Robert. And my Aunt Eleanor. They were both there when the will was read. Contact them, she said. We need their statements as soon as possible. Robert answered on the second ring. Audrey, sweetheart. I heard something was going on. When I told him, he didn't even hesitate. Your grandmother would be furious, he said, his voice rough with emotion. She made that will crystal clear. Everything equal. No favorites. That was important to her. I know, I said. But Dad's telling everyone there was some kind of verbal agreement. There was no agreement, Robert said firmly. I'll sign whatever you need. And Audrey? Don't you dare back down from this. Aunt Eleanor's reaction was quieter, but heavier. I always feared this could happen, she said. Your father asked your grandparents to change the will, to give more to Bri-anna. Multiple times. They refused every time. They believed in fairness. He never accepted that. She paused. Your grandmother told me once that she worried Dennis would try something like this after she was gone. She said she hoped you'd be strong enough to stand up to him if it came to that. My eyes burned. She said that. She did. And if you need me, I'll testify. Your grandmother would want me to. Piece by piece, the truth formed a shape I could finally see. This wasn't sudden. It wasn't about me. It was the culmination of years of unspoken expectations. Years of Bri-anna being promised things that were never hers. Years of my father rewriting reality to match what he wished it was instead of what it actually was. But the worst came 2 nights later. Tessa and I were walking up to my house to grab a few more of my things when we saw movement on the porch. Someone was jiggling the door handle. Bri-anna. She held a key I'd never given her, trying to force it into the lock. What are you doing? I shouted. She jerked back, startled. I thought I could just look around. By breaking in. It's going to be my house anyway, she snapped, and there it was. The entitlement laid bare. Tessa already had her phone out. I'm calling the police. Wait, no, Bri-anna's face went pale. I wasn't actually breaking in. I was just what? I asked. Just trespassing. Just trying to get into a house that doesn't belong to you. A neighbor across the street had come out onto their porch, watching. The police came. They took a report. Bri-anna cried the whole time, playing the victim like she always did. But the officer was professional, detached. Do you want to press charges? He asked me. I looked at Bri-anna, mascara running down her face, and felt nothing but exhaustion. Not right now, I said. But I want this documented. Understood. After they left, Tessa put her arm around me. You know what this was, right? She was trying to get in before the court case. Maybe move some things around. Make it look lived in. I nodded slowly. Yeah. I know. That moment changed everything. Catherine called it what it was, attempted unauthorized entry. Evidence. And suddenly, the fear I'd been drowning in shifted into something steadier. Something sharp. They wanted a legal war. Fine. They'd get one. The courthouse smelled like old paper and disinfectant. Sharp. Sterile. Nothing warm about it. As I walked down the hallway beside Catherine, I felt every beat of my heart like it was echoing off the walls. My palms were cold, my breath uneven. I wasn't scared of losing the house anymore. I was scared of facing the people who raised me and realizing they weren't the same people in my memories. Dennis, Carolyn, and Bri-anna were already seated at the plaintiff's table when we entered. Dennis straightened his shoulders the second he saw me, like he was preparing for battle. Carolyn looked away, fidgeting with her purse. Bri-anna stared at me with this mix of entitlement and simmering resentment, like I was the one who had betrayed her. Catherine touched my arm gently. Stay steady. Remember, we aren't here to fight feelings. We're here to present facts. When Judge Sarah Brennan entered, the room fell silent instantly. She had the kind of presence that made you sit up straighter without thinking. Confident. Composed. Done with nonsense before it even started. Let's begin, she said. Philip Watson, my parents' lawyer, rose first. Your Honor, this case concerns a verbal family agreement regarding inheritance distribution. An agreement that Miss Audrey violated when she purchased a property using funds intended for her sister, Bri-anna. Verbal agreement. My stomach twisted. He continued. Our position is that the house Miss Audrey acquired was meant for Bri-anna, as per long-standing discussions within the family. The defendant was aware of these discussions and chose to proceed with the purchase anyway, disregarding her family's wishes and her sister's needs. Catherine didn't move. Didn't flinch. She simply waited for him to sit, then rose with all the calm confidence of someone holding a royal flush. Your Honor, she began, the plaintiffs claim a verbal agreement that has no witnesses, no documentation, and no mention in the legally executed will of the deceased grandparents. Meanwhile, the defendant has provided detailed payment records confirming that every dollar used to purchase her home came from 6 years of earned income. Judge Brennan nodded. Proceed. First, Philip called Dennis to the stand. My father took the oath and faced the courtroom like a man finally getting the respect he believed he deserved. My mother always wanted Bri-anna to have help buying her first home, he said. It was understood within the family. Audrey knew this. I clenched my jaw. Catherine placed a hand on my arm, grounding me. Philip's next witness was Carolyn. Her voice trembled just enough to seem sympathetic. We aren't trying to hurt Audrey, she said softly. We just want what was promised to Bri-anna. We've always tried to be fair to both our daughters. Promised. Another word with no backbone. Then Bri-anna was called. She smoothed her skirt and gave a shaky breath. Performative. Careful. I've been saving for years, she said. But I don't make as much as Audrey. I thought she understood the house was meant for me. That she'd help me, like family should. Philip put a comforting hand on her shoulder as she stepped down. Of course he did. Then it was Catherine's turn. She stood, spine straight, eyes sharp. Your Honor, we would like to call our first witness. Robert. Uncle Robert entered the room with the steady dignity of a man who had nothing to prove. He took the stand and spoke clearly. The will was split evenly between Dennis and his sister. No conditions. No special promises. I was in the room when it was read. My mother was very clear about that. She believed in treating her children equally. Philip tried to challenge him. But surely there were family discussions. There were discussions, Robert cut him off. Dennis asking our parents to give Bri-anna more. They said no. Every single time. Philip tried to challenge him further, but Robert didn't budge. Next came Aunt Eleanor. She moved slowly, but her voice was firm. Dennis asked our parents to change the will to give Bri-anna more, she said. Multiple times over several years. They refused. They believed in fairness. My mother told me she was worried Dennis would try to rewrite things after she passed. She wanted everything documented clearly to prevent exactly this kind of situation. The courtroom went still. Carolyn looked down at her hands. Dennis's jaw tightened, a muscle twitching. Catherine thanked Eleanor gently before calling me to the stand. As I sat, the microphone felt too close, too loud. But speaking the truth felt like oxygen. I saved for 6 years, I said. I can account for every dollar. No inheritance money was used. Every penny came from my salary and bonuses from my engineering job. Catherine handed the judge a neatly organized packet. These are the statements documenting 6 years of deposits, payroll income, and savings transfers. Every transaction is accounted for. Judge Brennan flipped through the pages with a keen eye. Noted. Then Catherine said, Your Honor, we have one more matter to address. 2 nights before mediation, Bri-anna attempted to enter the defendant's property using a key that did not belong to her. Bri-anna's head snapped up. I wasn't breaking in. I just wanted to look. Catherine didn't even look at her. A neighbor recorded the attempt and called the police. We have the police report here. She handed it up. The defendant did not pursue charges, but it demonstrates a belief held by the plaintiffs that they were entitled to the house regardless of legal ownership. Philip stumbled. That has nothing to do with. It has everything to do with entitlement, Catherine said calmly. And that's the core of this case. The plaintiffs believe they have a right to property they never owned, never paid for, and have no legal claim to. Judge Brennan held up a hand. Enough. The courtroom stilled under her gaze. I've reviewed the material, she said. The will was equal. There is no evidence of any financial arrangement assigning funds specifically to Bri-anna. And the defendant's purchase was made entirely from her own earnings. She paused, letting the air thicken. As for the attempted entry, that escalation is deeply concerning and speaks to a pattern of behavior that suggests the plaintiffs genuinely believe they have rights to property that is not theirs. Bri-anna's face went pale. I hereby dismiss the case in its entirety. A sharp bang of the gavel sealed it. With prejudice, Judge Brennan added, voice firm. The plaintiffs are barred from refiling these claims. My breath rushed out of me. Not like relief, but like something heavy lifting off my chest for the first time in months. Carolyn covered her mouth, stunned. Dennis's eyes flashed with something dark, anger, disbelief, wounded pride. Bri-anna burst into tears, but they felt hollow now. Performed. When we stepped into the hallway, Dennis stormed after us. This isn't over, he barked. We're still family. I turned to face him fully for the first time. Family doesn't take each other to court over lies. Family doesn't try to steal what someone else worked for. You chose this. All of you. Carolyn reached for my hand. I stepped back. I don't want to fight, she whispered. You already did, I said. And you lost. Bri-anna sniffled. I just thought it was supposed to be mine. It never was, I said softly. But you never wanted the truth. You wanted whatever you were promised, whether it was real or not. For the first time, she looked uncertain. Almost small. Catherine stepped beside me. We're done here, she said calmly. And we were. As we walked away, I didn't feel triumphant. I felt steady. Whole. Free. When I got home that evening, the sun was sinking behind the rooftops, washing the street in a soft orange glow. For the first time in months, the sight of my own front door didn't make my stomach twist. I unlocked it, stepped inside, and let the quiet settle over me like a blanket. No tension. No fear. No one trying to rewrite what belonged to me. Tessa arrived first, carrying takeout and grinning like I just won a championship. You did it, she said, pulling me into a tight hug. Nathan followed with a bottle of sparkling cider. Not many people walk into a courtroom against their entire family and walk out standing taller. Catherine came last, composed as always, but her smile was warmer than I'd ever seen. Justice doesn't fix everything, she said softly. But it does give you room to breathe. Robert called later to say he and Eleanor were proud. They reminded me that my grandparents believed in fairness. Always had. Tonight, I finally felt connected to that belief. Not just by blood, but by choice. I walked through my living room, touched the smooth edge of the newly refinished table, opened my windows to let in the night air. This house felt different now. Not just a purchase. Not just an address in the city. It felt like mine again. Fully. Unquestionably mine. Standing in my doorway that night, I realized something simple and steady. Family isn't defined by blood or tradition or the people who claim they know what's best for you. It's defined by the ones who stand beside you when everything breaks. I didn't just win a case. I won my life back. My home. My boundaries. My voice. Thanks for listening, and if you like this story, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to comment and subscribe for more stories about standing up for yourself when the people closest to you try to take what's yours. Sometimes the family you choose is stronger than the family you're born into.